A very good morning to all of you. I welcome you all to Ansarkari. So in this video, we'll be taking up all the important articles for their relevance and importance for the UPSC Civil Services examination. And this is going to be for 8th of April 2023. So let's start with our today's analysis. So we are seeing that COVID-19 cases, they're increasing. So it is telling states to do more of COVID-19 tests so that we are able to spot if anyone is diagnosed with COVID-19, and then they can go ahead with quarantine and stuff like that. So average daily cases, they jump from 571 3 weeks ago to over 4,000 now. So on an average, her week we are seeing around 4,000 COVID-19 cases, and Home Ministry directs the states to set up the vaccination and identify the hotspots. So it all comes down to the preparedness level. Again, if there is a COVID-19 wave this time, but it shouldn't be there because now we have all the vaccination done and we have the booster shots also. So it shouldn't be that way as it was before. And then we'll be looking into the topic of that it might be possible that your medical device may be spying on you. So we wear smartwatches which record the number of steps that we move in a day, the number of calories that we burn. So such types of devices, they may be spying on you. So we'll look into that. So Ukrainian minister is going to visit India next week for talks and likely to invite Prime Minister Modi to visit the capital of Ukraine, that is Kyiv. So this is the first visit since the Russia-Ukraine war, and Union government will hold the talks next week with the senior Ukrainian minister. So that's there. So apart from that, so जो different locations हैं, important locations अगर हम यूक्रेन की बात करें, so that might be asked in match the following. And apart from that, जो बाकी countries news में हैं, उनकी जो important territories and areas है, they can also come up in the form of match the following. So you need to remember some of the important places when we're talking about the countries which are in news. So there's also talks of the 10-point peace formula and calling on India to add its crucial global voice to building a consensus in Ukraine's favor. So definitely, you can't ignore India in current times. So these are some of the developments. And also India is also hosting the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit. So यहाँ पे member countries, where are the headquarters, or why Shanghai Cooperation Organization was formed, and any other important report या index जो publish की जाती है. So that would be important. So taxes paid by senior citizens surges to over rupees 1 lakh crores. So there has been a surprising surge in the income tax payments from the senior citizens in the country during the past year, and which lifted the overall tax collections from 60 plus population by as much as 61.5%. So personal income tax flows, they have grown at a faster pace of around 24% vis-a-vis the corporate tax through 2022-23. So अगर हम growth rate की बात करें in terms of हमें ऐसा question आ सकता है कि you need to arrange this thing in chronological manner. So growth rate की अगर हम बात करें तो maximum growth हमने income tax rate में देखी है, income tax revenues जो ज्यादा आए हैं, and corporate tax में कम growth देखने को मिली है. हालांकि it used to be the other way around usually, but this has been this time कि we are seeing the growth rate in the income tax revenue, it has been more than the corporate tax revenues. So here is all like political news, so we are not taking these articles. So NGT sets up a panel to revisit the clearance given to the Great Nicobar Island project. So इस project के बारे में हमने पहले भी बात करी है, and this is basically like focusing upon the infrastructural development on the islands. So NGT ने अभी एक panel setup किया है to again basically reassess जो clearance दी गई थी to this Great Nicobar Island project, and so that would be analyzing the things again. And obviously it is जो clearance दी गई थी, that was by the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. And apart from that, it's a mega project which is going to be implemented at the southern end of the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. So जो different names है of the Andaman and Nicobar Islands वो भी हमें पता होना चाहिए, and उनका भी proper position with respect to others, we need to have clarity regarding that. So Great Nicobar Island project जो है वो southern Andaman and Nicobar Islands में है, and so जो concerns है regarding this project, that is कि it would be having adverse impact on the rich biodiversity of this area, because obviously अगर आप infrastructural development करोगे तो you need to clear this area, and उससे biodiversity loss होगा, will be cutting down the trees, deforestation होगा. So these are the concerns, and obviously this would be damaging the habitats of the endangered species also. So that's there, and then there is the Galathea Bay, which is in the island. It is a nesting ground for the birds, and the project area, it is part of the coastal regulation zones 1A and 1B. So that is again an important fact here. Coming to the editorial section. So pause and effect, here we're talking about recently जो MPC ने decision लिया है of pausing the repo rate hike. So developments in the global financial system, it was one of the main reasons जिसकी वजह से RBI it has paused the increase of repo rate. So global financial system की उसके concerns की अगर हम बात करें तो that is majorly driven by recently we saw 2 banks failures in USA. So उसके वजह से it triggered the pause of repo rate hike this time, and it was a unanimous decision by the MPC to not increase the repo rate, and it wisely decided to apply a temporary pause to its inflation battling monetary tightening by keeping the repo rate unchanged. So even the RBI governor, he was emphatic in stressing that the decision to pause was for this meeting only, underlining the commitment to ensuring the retail inflation is progressively aligned to the mandated target of 4%. So that is another thing. So sirf is meeting ke liye, he said that it was only for this meeting that it has been a pause this time, and jo main target hai, again, that is to bring down inflation to its target level, and उसी को टारगेट करने वाला है आरबीआई इन कमिंग टाइम्स. अपार्ट फ्रॉम दैट, इट इज ऑल्सो इम्पोर्टेंट, हमने कल भी बात करी थी, इट इज इम्पोर्टेंट टू मेंटेन द बैलेंस बिटवीन कंट्रोलिंग डाउन इन्फ्लेशन एंड नॉट हर्टिंग द ग्रोथ एट द सेम टाइम. एंड एक और जो सेकेंड चीज की हमने बात करी है रिगार्डिंग मॉनेटरी पॉलिसी इज दैट जब हम इन्फ्लेशन कंट्रोल करने की यहाँ पे बात कर रहे हैं, इन्फ्लेशन को कम करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं, तो यहाँ पे हमें ये समझना पहले इम्पोर्टेंट होगा कि व्हाट आर द रीजंस व्हिच इज like causing inflation to increase. So right now it is the supply side factors. So supply side factors की वजह से अगर inflation हो रही है तो we need to take certain supply side measures to bring down inflation. So specifically food sector में we are seeing inflation बहुत ज़्यादा है, cereal inflation is increasing. So उस केस में ensuring कि supply is adequate of the food and cereals, so that would be helping in bringing down the food inflation जो कि volatile भी बहुत ज़्यादा होती है. So I just want to say कि supply side causes की वजह से inflation हो रही है, तो we need to take some supply side measures, and fiscal and monetary policy भी they can together work at the same time to bring down inflation. So food prices की अगर हम बात कर रहे थे, outlook for the food prices that is also beset with uncertainty coming times, and because from the past 3 years we were having the La Nina conditions, we were having good monsoon, so उसकी वजह से जो supply of food grains था वो इतना ज़्यादा negative impact उस पे नहीं था, but this year we're also expecting कि we might see El Nino, so उसकी वजह से directly we know कि monsoon पे direct impact होता है and we might not see adequate amount of crops this year. And abhi right now also because of unseasonal rains we are seeing कि wheat की जो crop है उस पे भी impact हो रहा है, but again एक दो दिन पहले हमने ये भी देखा था कि government is saying कि उस चीज का जो unseasonal rain है उसका minimal impact है on the wheat crop, so that was a positive thing. But again food prices inflation they can spike in the coming times. So some advice to India on the IFA negotiations. So although World Trade Organization, it is in a moribund condition that there is prolific activity taking place in one area of rule making, that is investment facilitation agreement, that is IFA. So backed by more than 100 countries, the proposed IFA it is meant to create legally binding provisions which are aimed at facilitating investment flows. So obviously investment facilitation agreement का main objective यही होगा कि जो process है, जो पूरा एप्लीकेशन का प्रोसेस है कमिंग टू द फाइनल एग्रीमेंट, उसका थोड़ा और इजी एंड सिंपल बनाना एंड ज़्यादा जो अगर रिस्ट्रिक्शंस है तो उनको रिमूव करना. सो दैट इज द मेन ऑब्जेक्टिव ऑफ दिस इन्वेस्टमेंट फैसिलिटेशन एग्रीमेंट एंड इट इज राइट नाउ it is backed by 100 countries, but India, it is not a party to that. So legal obligations inter alia, they will require the states to augment regulatory transparency, predictability of the investment measures. So these are the two things जिन पे focus किया जा रहा है कि आपको regulatory transparency पे और थोड़ा काम करना पड़ेगा and predictability of the investment measures. This would be another second important thing of this agreement. So this agreement, it will be very different from the investment protection agreements such as the bilateral investment treaties that allow the foreign investors to bring claims against the host states for the alleged treaty breaches. So this is known as the investor state dispute settlements. So that is the thing. And right now, like India, it is not backing this investment facilitation agreement. So India should not be opposed to joining this agreement negotiations for fear of investor state dispute settlement claims. So एक ये concern है why India is not going ahead even with the negotiation part. So that's there. So LEGO India must contribute to the communities it needs sustenance from. So the Union Cabinet's approval to set up the gravitational wave detection facility in Maharashtra, which is a project of around 2600 crore rupees. It is one that will consist of a detector which is called the Laser Interferometer Gravitational Wave Observatory. So in short, this observatory is known as LEGO, and ये पहले भी न्यूज में रहा है. So it is there in Maharashtra. So gravitational wave observatory है, तो gravitational waves की को record करना is the main thing that this observatory is built for. And apart from that, you can find out कि इंडिया में और कहीं पे भी do we have these LEGO observatories or not, and globally कहाँ पे we find them. So their detection of the gravitational waves 2016 made launched a new era of astronomy. So back in 2016 they have recorded gravitational waves, and a third detector it is being built in India as a part of the LEGO India collaboration in order to improve the detector's collective ability to pinpoint the sources of gravitational waves in the sky. So what I can make out from the sentence is that globally there are a total only 3 LEGO observatories. So one is there in India, one would be there in US, and let's see where is the third one. So cabinet, it has approved the two basically it now throws up two opportunities for us. First is that India could become a global site of the gravitational physics research, aiding the training and the handling of the precision technologies and sophisticated control systems, and cementing a reputation for successfully running an experimental big science project. And second would be that LEGO India, it can demonstrate an ability to reckon intelligently with the Indian society's relationship with science using the opportunities that big science affords. So India has had a contested relationship with such projects, including recently we have the Challakere Science City and the stalled India-based neutrino observatory. So they need large land tracts, which with inevitable implications for land use change. So good challenges we have definitely when we talk about setting such types of large observatories. So there is a 30-meter telescope in Hawaii. It is being built on land that the locals they hold sacred. So इसके against भी कुछ concerns है. And so because of physics, it is saying कि कुछ part of land ऐसा होगा जिसको हम physically access नहीं कर पाएंगे because of such types of observatories and the experiments related to them. So these are some of the important facts. Apart from this, आप थोड़ा Google कर भी find out कर सकते हो लीगो के बारे में कैसे function करती है उसका आपको like proper picture भी मिल जाएगा कि उसकी shape कैसे how it is being constructed. So all of that would further help you. So House panel apprised of the collusive threat from China and Pakistan. So China, it has grown from having around 250 ships to over 350 in just over 1 decade. And Navy representative says that this in submission to the Parliamentary Standing Committee. So Islamabad's maritime force projected to expand by 50% with the help from Beijing. So that's how basically Pakistan be जो उसकी नेवी साइज है नेवल साइज है दैट इज आल्सो इट हैज बीन एबल टू इंक्रीज बिकॉज ऑफ द एड एंड सपोर्ट फ्रॉम चाइना so their growing presence and definitely we are aware about that so that's the thing and the Indian Navy it has a strength of around 130 ships and submarines and while the target is to have 200 ship navy given the current trajectory it is likely to have 155 and 160 ships so that's there and Chinese ship ka strength we have seen how even Pakistan's navy is increasing so that's obviously major role of China in that. So Himachal Pradesh it is considering legalizing the cultivation of cannabis so it basically the cannabis cultivation it would play a significant role in generating revenue for the state so that is the potential reason it might be legalized in the state in coming times and besides it would be beneficial even to the patients as it has many medical properties also and it can be used for industrial purposes as well so these are some of the arguments put forward so obviously it at the same time is the potential hai in high usage of drugs so agar it would be like made in a regulated manner so definitely iske kuch benefits bhi honge but again the thing is कि how regulatory and how strict would be when it comes to the control कि कौन से areas में it is being grown कहाँ पे permissions दी जा रही है so all of that would be a part of it and neighboring state that is Uttarakhand it has already legalized the cultivation of cannabis back in 2017 so it was the first state to do so in India And controlled cultivation is being done in some districts of even Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, and Uttar Pradesh. So controlled cultivation ki ja rahi hai. Similarly, controlled cultivation of cannabis, it has been permitted in different countries also, like Uruguay, Canada, US, Australia, and Belgium. So इट्स नॉट कि बिल्कुल भी आप कल्टीवेट नहीं करोगे, क्योंकि बाकी बेनिफिट्स भी है, लाइक एज आई जस्ट मेंशन्ड मेडिकल पर्पसेस भी है, कुछ मेडिकल प्रॉपर्टीज है व्हिच कैन हेल्प अस. अपार्ट फ्रॉम दैट इंडस्ट्रियल पर्पसेस में भी इट कैन बी यूज. सो कंट्रोल तरीके से नथिंग इज हार्मफुल. So जो common medical devices है, they face the risk of malware attacks. So experts, they warn that such connected health devices with the software components, they can even leak your data, and urge the government to put in the cyber security measures to protect even the hospital databases. So common medical devices, which includes the oximeters, the hearing aids, we have glucometers and the pacemakers, they can be turned into spyware and malware as per the experts. And so they are urging the central government's intervention to recognize this threat and immediately put in place measures to plug any possible drain. So agar there is any possible loophole which is there, so it should be the responsibility of the central government to plug in that. So we are seeing ki recently ransomware attacks, definitely they are increasing in India, and specifically they're again targeting the top tertiary hospitals. So that is leading to the siege of millions of medical records and vast amounts of health data at even Delhi's AIMS. So we saw ki there was a ransomware attack even on the servers of AIMS Delhi. So data governance की बात करें तो data protection, it is not rocket science, but it requires legal and technical artisanship. So allocation of adequate resources and training of all the professionals which are involved in the processing of the personal data. So we are also, we have this bill tabled in the parliament as well. So right now we lack any like centralized data collection mechanism, which gives an exact cost of the data corruption for the healthcare industry. However, it's clear that data is seeing a threat that has become rampant, sophisticated, and severe. So mission to map the rural India's cultural assets covers over 1 lakh villages in India. So in a bid to harness the unique cultural heritage of the rural India, government it has identified and documented distinctive features of more than 1 lakh villages across the country. So एक point जो आप note कर सकते हो in your mind is that कि सारे villages across India is not covered, and it is cultural asset mapping. So villages, they have been broadly divided into 7 to 8 categories based on whether they are important, ecologically important hai, or developmentally or scholastically. So likewise different categories have been made, and क्या वहाँ पे मतलब कोई फेमस टेक्सटाइल प्रोड्यूस की जाती है, या दे कनेक्टेड टू एनी हिस्टोरिकल और माइथोलॉजिकल इवेंट्स लाइक इंडिपेंडेंस स्ट्रगल से कोई रेलेवेंस का कोई कनेक्शन है, या फिर एपिक्स लाइक महाभारत में दे हैव बीन मेंशन्ड. सो likewise on their importance in these different categories, the villages, they have been made and categorized into different groups. Like when we talk about Sukheti, which is there in Himachal Pradesh. So this is the Asia's oldest fossil park. And then apart from that, we have one of them in Madhya Pradesh also. So the oldest, Asia ka oldest one is in Himachal Pradesh at Sukheti. Then we have Pandrithan in Kashmir, which is the village of Shaivite mystic Lal Ded, and is also classified for their historical importance. And then when we talk about the developmental importance ke perspective se, so villages like Modhera in Gujarat, which is the first solar powered village in India. So it becomes important for us. Ecological category में बात करें तो it is the Bishnoi village near Jodhpur in Rajasthan, which is a case study for living in harmony with nature. And then we have Uttarakhand's Raini village, which is famous for the Chipkoof movement. So ecologically, these villages are important. And apart from that, the NMCM, it aims to develop a comprehensive database of the art forms है, artist की बात करें, other resources across the country. So उसका proper एक database तैयार किया जाएगा. And so the Indira Gandhi National Center for Arts said that it has undertaken the cultural asset mapping of these villages through field surveys. So that's the mission. So Yemen war की बात करें तो Saudi Omani team are going to talk to the Houthis to end this Yemen war, and they're planning to travel to Yemen's capital Sana'a next week to hash out a permanent ceasefire deal with the Houthi rebel that end the country's 8-year-old conflict. So it's been almost 8 years, and so definitely their planned visit it's a signal of progress in the Oman-mediated talks between the kingdom and the Iran-aligned Houthi movement, which run in parallel to the UN peace efforts. So it is also a sign that regional rift they are easing after the rivals Saudi Arabia and Iran. They have agreed to restore their relations. They have restored their diplomatic relations and ties. So उसके बाद से we are seeing कि situation in Yemen या फिर we see a possibility that this war might end in future. So it is a very important factor here. So Houthis who ousted the internationally recognized government from Sana'a in late 2014, they are the de facto authorities in northern Yemen and say that they are rising up against a corrupt system and the foreign aggression. So ये Houthis का कहना है. Right now they are in power in Yemen, specifically northern Yemen में, and they took up control in late 2014. So they are saying कि हम corrupt system के against fight कर रहे हैं. We are fighting against foreign aggression. So let's see कि आने वाले time में whether talks they are successful or not. So China has sent warships and jets towards Taiwan and slapped sanctions on the US entities. So definitely Taiwan वाला जो area है, that remains volatile always in news. So China कुछ और चाहता है, Western world कुछ और चाहता है. So that's why हमेशा it's a kind of a hotspot जब हम Indo-Pacific region की बात करें. Coming to the business page, the drug makers, they get more time to join the track and trace system for the exports. So DGFT, it extends the deadline for this implementation to August 1. Manufacturers, they are granted time for ensuring कि जो data है that is pertaining to maintaining the parent-child relationship in packaging levels for the export of the drug formulation that is uploaded on the central portal. So the long delayed system, it is intended to help address the counterfeiting and product recall challenges. So दो main challenges से deal करने के लिए we have this portal, and DGFT it has extended the deadline. So drug makers, they have got another extension to help implement the track and trace systems for the export of the pharmaceuticals consignments. So Pharmaceuticals Export Promotion Council of India's director ruled out the likelihood of any further delay in this rollout, and even CDAC, who is working on this project, does no further postponement will be there. So initially there was secondary and tertiary packaging that will get covered under the system, and the primary packaging will be included at a later stage. So you can find out about कि इसमें difference क्या है primary, secondary and tertiary packaging की अगर हम बात करें. So US job data is here. US economy adds around 2.36 lakh of non-farm jobs, and unemployment rate it has slipped to 3.5% in March. So this it's a positive development we can say at the job front. And Nomura says that RBI will pivot to rate cuts in October. So this is their forecast. So it's a Japanese brokerage, Nomura, and said ki RBI right now, like 6.5% of the GDP growth estimate for the financial year 2024, it is too optimistic as of now, and the central bank it will pivot to rate cuts from October. So definitely इसके बारे में हम बहुत अच्छे से and simply we have discussed about all the different scenarios related to inflation हो गया, growth हो गया, monetary policy हो गया, why it is not coming down, sticky core inflation की बात कर चुके हैं. So we are done with this thing a number of times. So कल हमने बात करी थी कि there are certain changes in the way CNG prices would be determined. So उसकी वजह से it is possible कि जो prices हैं they may fall by 9 to 11%. And हमारे लिए इसमें like method में क्या changes किए गए हैं that is important. So as per the key recommendations of the Parekh committee, it accepted by the government. So APM formula it is now revised, and it is determined as a 10% slope to crude oil prices, but with the floor and ceiling price set किया गया है, and this would balance the interest of domestic gas producers while incentivizing the city gas consumers at the same time. So producers and consumers दोनों को benefit होगा. So APM is the administered price mechanism regime. So you need to remember that we have the Kirit Parekh committee that is related to the gas pricing. Government says कि wheat output is going to hit record level despite the crop loss. So crop loss के बाद भी अगर हम record break करने वाले हैं in terms of the wheat output, so that's a very good sign in terms of the growing food grain production या cereal production in India, because we also have this concern because of rising population, and soon India is going to overtake China in terms of the world's most populous country. So definitely there are some concerns regarding the food security thing. India's forex reserves, they have dropped by $329 million. Right now they stand at $578.5 billion right now. So यहाँ पे what becomes important for us is कि क्या different ways हैं जिस तरीके से हमारे इंडिया के forex reserves they get impacted, what are the different factors, and forex reserves के क्या different components है. So इस पे already question पूछा जा चुका है. So जो बाकी aspects हैं वो हमें पता होना important है. So since rupee was depreciating, so even RBI was infusing dollars so that rupee ज़्यादा depreciate ना हो. So this is one reason why forex reserves they fall. Coming to the Financial Express now. So capital expenditure loans, they are going to start flowing to the states. So most states, they are in compliance and they're project ready. So around rupees 30,000 crores will be disbursed. And total 1.3 trillion rupees is the total support by the central government in terms of the capital expenditure to the states. So here basically we can like know about the difference between capital expenditure and the revenue expenditure, and if you can like just find out about the trend कुछ last decade का या last 5 years का capital expenditure loans में क्या trend रहा है to the states by the central government. So that would be important here. So Russian oil imports, they are set to spike. So obviously we know कि जब से Russia Ukraine war start हुआ है तो India is getting the crude oil at discounted prices. So obviously we leverage this opportunity, and after that we have seen कि जो share of Russia hai in terms of the crude oil that India is importing. So definitely it has increased to around 20%, and आने वाले टाइम में भी वो और इंक्रीज होगा. एंड कल हमने इससे रिलेटेड एक और एस्पेक्ट के बारे में बात करी थी कि जो वेस्टर्न वर्ल्ड ने सैंक्शंस इम्पोज किए हैं ऑन दी क्रूड ऑयल प्राइसेस of Russia, that was at $60 per barrel. So Japan, it is believed कि it is buying crude oil from Russia above that price, and India, maybe it is believed कि India is also on similar lines. So क्या आने वाले time में more countries would be like not adhering to the sanctions that has been imposed by the Western world on Russia? So this was the thing that we talked about yesterday. And share की अगर हम रशियन शेयर की बात करें in terms of oil imports into India, so it was around 1%, and now it is at 20%. So that is obviously a very huge spike and jump. So the chances of further acceleration in the imports of the oil from Russia have increased after the decision of OPEC and its allies, including Russia, कि they would be reducing the crude oil production. So इसके वजह से it might be possible कि जो हमारी dependence है on Russia, that would be increasing further in coming times. So you will be able to travel from Delhi to Dehradun in just 2 hours. So people, they will be traveling from Delhi to Dehradun in just 2 hours, and Delhi to Haridwar in 90 minutes, as we are working upon the construction work of Delhi Dehradun Expressway that will be completed by the end of December this year. So definitely in terms of the road infrastructure, we are moving forward. And इसके बारे में थोड़ा up trend या फिर क्या ग्रोथ रेट है थोड़ा सा आइडिया होगा, so that would be sufficient. And 16th Finance Commission, it would be set up by November. So Finance Commission becomes very, very important. We have Article 280 of the Constitution, which speaks and talks about Finance Commission. Every 5 years, we have the Finance Commission set up. So यहाँ पे हमें पता होना चाहिए who sets up the Finance Commission, and जो members हैं उनका क्या appointment process है, how are they selected. So all of that is important, and जो terms of reference रहेंगी, they would become important. So एंड लास्ट की एक दो जो लास्ट के एक दो लाइक 14th एंड 15th फ्रांस कमीशन है उनका टर्म्स ऑफ रेफरेंस एंड कितना शेयर उन्होंने डिस्पर्स किया. जो भी ऑब्वियसली मेन फंक्शन ऑफ फाइनेंस कमीशन इज रिगार्डिंग द डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन एंड डिस्पर्सल और डेवल्यूशन ऑफ द सेंट्रल पूल. सो उसके परसेंटेज हमें पता होना इज इम्पोर्टेंट. सो ये डेटा इम्पोर्टेंट हो जाते हैं. So revision of the consumer price index, it is not likely to happen in 2024 as well. So current CPI basket and the base year, they are outdated as per the experts. So इसमें revision करने की ज़रूरत है. And so this would be basically done जब household consumer expenditure survey complete हो जाएगा as per the government. And August में last year this survey was launched, household consumer expenditure survey, and it will be conducted for 1 year period. So it would take 1 year to get completed, and it is done by the National Statistical Office. It is used for getting the data on the budget and spending patterns by the households for several commodities and the services, which is then used for compilation of the consumer price indices for rural and urban India. So at present, the CPI is based on average monthly consumer expenditure of the urban and rural household obtained from data of 68th round consumer expenditure survey conducted during 2011-12. So the base year is 2012. It was effective from January 2015, and broadly it covers 6 major groups, including food and beverages, pan, tobacco and intoxicants, clothing and footwear, housing, fuel and light, and miscellaneous items. So that is the important thing जो हमें पता होना चाहिए. So let's see, it would be revised further once this survey gets completed. So global food prices, they are falling, and they've fallen for 12th consecutive month. So this is the trend you can see. COVID-19 के time में how it spiked. 2020 में we had COVID-19 pandemic, and इसके बाद तो it has just spiked so sharply. But now it is coming down. So even that is a satisfactory thing. So this is the UN's FAO's food price index, Food and Agricultural Organizations food price index. Taking up Indian Express now. So budget is cleared and stage is set for India's biggest facility to probe the universe. So LIGO India, already discussed in the Hindu. So LIGO India will be fifth node in the world to detect gravitational waves. So हमारे लिए gravitational waves properties क्या होती हैं वो important हो जाता है. So this definitely it's a milestone in Indian science. And LIGO India, it's a momentous milestone in Indian science. Country has been active, a collaborator in the international scientific projects. Basically, अगर हम different international science projects की बात करें, जिसमें India has been collaborating. So another example is the Large Hadron Collider experiments, and then the efforts to create a thermonuclear reactor. So definitely India ने अपना role जरूर play किया है in these types of experiments in terms of science. So, however, it has not built a cutting edge scientific facility on this scale on its own soil, something that can have huge spin off benefits in science and technology. So, India में ऐसी कोई बड़ी facility अभी तक we have not developed. And LIGO, therefore, it is crucial to demonstrating that India can pull off complex science projects on its own as well. बाकी the Albert Einstein's general theory of relativity that encapsulates the current understanding of how gravitation works and gravitational waves. They were first discovered in 2015 by two LIGO based in the United States. So यहाँ पे this general theory of relativity is important. इसकी क्या observations रही हैं? They are important for us. So in Leh, the final salute. So army personnel, they attend the last rites of Kargil war hero Subedar Major Visang Marup in Leh, and Marup, who got a Veer Chakra for his heroics in 1999, he died in a road accident. So his father was decorated with the Ashoka Chakra. So definitely their contributions are unmatched in any which way possible. So एक जो unseasonal rain, and we have been discussing कि wheat harvest जो है उस पे negative impact हो सकता है. So we are seeing कि standing crops है वो झुक गए हैं because of rain in Punjab, and farmers they are staring at loss. And then इसकी वजह से उसको harvest करने में भी आपको problem आएगी क्योंकि the crops they have bent, and आप इस picture में देख सकते हो कि कैसे they have bent, and उसको आप कैसे फिर harvest करोगे with the machines that you have. So combined harvesters obviously use किए जाते हैं for harvesting, so they are no more effective because crops they have bent, and manual labor option जो है वो बहुत expensive है. So एक ये another challenge is also emerged because of the situation right now. Moving forward and looking for some other important articles. So here we have all the political things. Moving forward. So when we talk about the biogas, so हमें पता होना चाहिए what are the different techniques through which it can be produced. So the biomethanation plants, they convert the wet waste into biogas. So biomethanation process, iski detailed, we need to be clear with that. And boosting capacity, so the scheme's target is to create the capacity of 15,000 TDP. So as of now there are 99 biomethanation plants functioning in cities over the total capacity of around 2,288 TDP as per the sources. And of these, 18 are the big plants and the largest one is in Indore. So basically wet waste ko we converted into biogas, and it is the Union Housing and Urban Affairs Ministry which is looking into this thing. So new domestic gas pricing formula, APM formula के बारे में हम बात कर चुके हैं. And what are the rationale for the changes? अभी ये changes किए क्यों गए हैं? So उसके पीछे reason समझना is again important. So under 2014 pricing guidelines जो थी, जो अभी तक follow की जा रही थी, the APM gas prices, it was set for 6-month periods based on the volume weighted prices prevailing at the 4 international gas trading hubs of USA, Canada, UK and Russia. And this was for 12 months and with a lag of quarter. So according to government, there's a need for this rationalization and reform as well, because we are seeing that there was significant time lag through this formula and there was high volatility. So now we are linking this APM gas prices to crude oil prices is the now prevalent practice in most natural gas contracts internationally also. So gas prices को basically you are linking them a certain percentage of हम उसको crude oil prices से link कर रहे हैं, so that it becomes much more stable and उसमें ज़्यादा time lag भी ना हो. So it is more relevant to India's consumption basket also. It has deeper liquidity in the global trading markets on real-time basis. And from the past few years, ONGC and oil companies जो हैं, they've been selling the gases at a loss. So obviously जो उनकी cost of production है, उससे कम prices पे they have been selling. And at the same time, gas consuming industries, they have urged the government to ensure that domestic gas remains affordable. So the new pricing formula attempts to balance the demands of both the consumers and producers. So दोनों के interest, they have been taken into consideration when we talk about the latest changes being done. So किरित पारक कमेटी के बारे में भी हम बात कर चुके हैं. हमें बस इतना पता होना चाहिए कि it is related to the gas pricing thing. And this panel, it was constituted 1 year back to look into the extent gas pricing guidelines and recommend some changes to balance the interest of consumers and producers, help India achieve its aim of increasing the domestic gas output, and then substantially increase the share of natural gas in the country's energy mix. So these were some of the objectives for which this Kirit Parekh panel was set up. So one of the important recommendations of this Parekh panel was that APM gas prices, they be made market determined by 2027. So it is basically talking about complete deregulation of the gas prices by 2027. So इसके ऊपर government ने अभी तक कुछ comment नहीं किया है, and there are no developments on this thing. So details of new pricing regime, they've been released by the government. It has no mention of deregulation of the APM gas prices. So अभी deregulation की तो कोई बात नहीं हो रही है, but जो अभी formula में change किया गया है हमारे लिए, वो समझना important है. So Tasmanian tiger, it is extinct since 1930s, but it is believed that it might have survived until the early 2000s as per research. So depending on whom you ask, the Tasmanian tiger or thylacine, it has either been extinct for nearly a century or it has just been really good at hiding. So ये हम बोल सकते हैं. This is a picture, that's how it looks. So Australia's night parrot, for instance, it was thought to be extinct for 140 years until its recent rediscovery. So Australia mein there was this new thing regarding their night parrot, जो believe किया जा रहा था कि it has been extinct, but अभी it has been rediscovered recently. So basically it is just, we can say जब हम तस्मेनियन टाइगर की बात करते हैं तो obviously it is found in remote parts of Tasmania, so you can find out about where is it that this country is located. So spotlight is again on Doklam, and right now we saw कि जो Bhutan के king थे, he visited India, so that's why this thing was again in news. So Bhutan's prime minister, it has said that Thimphu is close to resolving the border dispute with Beijing and there are no Chinese incursions in its territory. India-Bhutan relations, they are very special, but China remains the dragon in the room. So Bhutan and China understanding. So in this interview, basically, this was regarding the king's visit to India. Prime Minister Shering said that Bhutan and China, they had come to understand each other and they were close to resolving their boundary disputes. So So India holds that 2017 Chinese actions in Doklam that amounted to an attempt to change the Bhutan-China border unilaterally, thereby violating two agreements with Bhutan in 1988 and 1998. So China's aim in doing so was to move the tri-junction point from Batangla, which is both Indian and Bhutanese maps have this as the tri-junction point, further south to Gyeomochen in violation of the 2012 agreement with India. So Batangla की आप थोड़ा और जो passes हैं specifically in Sikkim and Arunachal Pradesh. So you need to find out more about कि और कौन से important passes हैं. So we talk about this concerns about the Chicken's Necks corridor, and it's a narrow corridor जो Siliguri में है, and is the only road which connects India to the northeast, and where the Indian defenses, they are considered to be the most vulnerable also. So that's why basically Siliguri corridor is very, very important for India. So why tiger loving Idu Mishmi, they are against a tiger reserve in the Dibang sanctuary. So government has announced last month that the Bang Wildlife Sanctuary in Arunachal Pradesh, it would soon be notified as a tiger reserve. This has upset the area's Idumishmi people. So दो important fact हमें इससे पता चल गए. Idumishmi tribe found in Arunachal Pradesh. The Bang Wildlife Sanctuary or Tiger Reserve अभी इसको declare किया जाएगा तो it is there in Arunachal. But in tribal people के क्या concerns हैं? That's what this article is talking about. सो उनका जो मेन कंसर्न यही है कि अगर इस वाइल्ड सेंचुरी को टाइगर रिजर्व या किसी एरिया को टाइगर रिजर्व डिक्लेयर कर दिया जाएगा तो जो उनकी एक्सेसिबिलिटी टू द फॉरेस्ट है वो हिंडर हो जाएगी, उस पर इम्पैक्ट होगा. So they are also called the Tiger Brothers. So Idu Mishmis, they are a sub-tribe of the larger Mishmi group. And जो बाकी दो सब tribes हैं, they are Digaru and Miju. So they are known for their weaving and craftsmanship skills. They live in mainly the Mishmi Hills, which border China. So ancestral homelands of the Idu Mishmi, they are spread over the districts of the Bang Valley, Lower Dibang Valley, and parts of Upper Siang and Lohit. So 2011 census estimated that Idu-Mishmi population was 12,000 and their language is also Idu-Mishmi. It is considered endangered by UNESCO. So these are other important details and facts. So traditionally they are animist tribe. They has deep cultural connection with the region's rich flora and fauna. And tiger is especially important for this tribe. According to their mythology, they were born of the same mother and tigers. Therefore, they are are their elder brothers. So they do not hunt many animals, including the tigers. And even the anthropologists, they have noted that their system of myths and taboos, they have given rise to a unique model of wildlife conservation. So when we talk about the Dibang Wildlife Sanctuary, so different wildlife species की अगर हम बात करें तो we find Mishmi takin, the musk deer and goral, and as well as the clouded leopard, snow leopard and tiger there. So that's there. And so जो main concern है Idumishmi tribe का वो हम बात कर चुके हैं, that is again कि their access to the forest that would be hampered if the area is declared as a tiger reserve. And एक और point जो put forward किया जाता है by the Idumishmi tribe is that कि they argue कि जब Dibang Wildlife Sanctuary it was created, it was without their consent and knowledge, and it was completely unilateral, arbitrary and illegal. So they did not follow the due procedure which was mentioned in the provisions of the Wildlife Protection Act and the Land Acquisition Act. So this is another thing which is highlighted by the community. So that's all for today. Thank you so much for joining us in today's analysis, and I hope you've understood all the topics nicely, and I've put in my best to make you guys understand that in simplest possible manner. And there's also a PDF link that has been provided in the description box. You can just have a look at that, and that would be helping you further in remembering the important facts and your understanding. And if you haven't subscribed to our channel, please hit the subscribe button and also like this video. Thank you so much.